Hello, welcome to Teen Take. My name's Sam, and today we're going to be doing a tier list of the Christopher Nolan movies, so let's get straight to it. Okay, so Christopher Nolan is obviously one of the most renowned filmmakers of the last 2 decades, producing some amazing films, and I'm going to do a tier list of all of them, apart from Insomnia and Following, because I haven't seen those two. Following is very hard to get hold of, especially in the UK when we can't get it on Criterion Collection, and Insomnia is also not that easy to get hold of. But the others, I have seen the rest of them. I'm quite excited to do this. I had a practice beforehand, and I was kind of surprised at some of the placements of some of these films, but who knows, that could change when I do it now, but we'll get started straight away. So the first one I have seen from his earliest films is Memento, and for me, Memento is a B. This might surprise some people, and a lot of people think it's his best or one of his best, and I'd just like to clarify that any film on this tier list is a very, very good film because it's a Nolan movie, so in my opinion they are some of the best films made in the last 20 years. But for me, Memento is kind of in the middle because I watched it, I had a lot of hype for it, I'd been bidding on it on eBay for different Blu-rays, and I finally got it, managed to watch it, and I did really enjoy it. I thought the plot was really interesting and the way it was told was amazing, and I did really enjoy it. This isn't me saying I didn't, because it is a very, very good film. Guy is great in the leading role, and I thought the whole non-linear way of telling it was really interesting and worked really well, the way it was kind of a sort of a hairpin where you saw the black and white footage was chronologically and the colour footage was backwards because of his amnesia, so you were in the same position as him, and it eventually met in the middle, and that was where the film ended. I thought it was really clever, but I think I didn't quite hear what the guy said, one of the guys said at the end, and so I didn't fully get the twist. I got the majority of it, but I didn't fully get it until after I watched the film, and I watched a YouTube video explaining it, and then I was like, oh, but by that point it was kind of too late. But it is one I'm going to rewatch soon because I've only seen it once, and it's definitely one I really enjoyed and definitely recommend. So yeah, Memento is B. And then after Memento, he then went on to do Insomnia, which I haven't seen, but after that he went and did Batman Begins, and see, when I practiced, I put this on S. Should I put it on A instead? No, S tier. Batman Begins is a great film. I love it. I think maybe the third act is a little bit weaker, but the whole sort of montage of him training to be Batman with Ra's al Ghul, and you see him on the glacier, and it's all non-linear, and I think Batman Begins is a great film. I think sometimes it's overlooked because of The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, but Batman Begins is the one that kick-started it all, really got Batman popular and relevant again compared to the films from the 90s, and so I think Batman Begins is a great film, and it really jump-started Nolan's career, because obviously he'd done a few films before this that were all decently popular, especially Memento, but doing Batman Begins really, really got him known, and I think it's one of his best films, and so that's why it's in the S tier. And so after that he did The Prestige. This film kind of blew me away. Again, I'd probably put it on S tier. I think it's so well made. The fact that it's structured like a magic trick. It's just a really clever way to tell a story. I think the two leads, Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman, are great. Some of the best performances I've seen them do. And I think a lot of the time, Nolan's characters get criticised, but I thought these two are really good. I'm pretty sure this isn't an original story Nolan came up with. I think it's based on a book. So that could be why. But I definitely think, again, it's one of his best films. One of his best crafted films, great acting, great story told in a unique way, so it's more interesting, and the big twist reveal at the end, I just did not see that coming, even though it was quite obvious. No, didn't see it, and so rewatching it is very, very interesting. I've only seen it twice, but I remember watching it the second time, and it was quite interesting to see everything unfold and knowing what was going to happen at the end. So yeah, Prestige is definitely an S tier. And then after that, he went on to make a little film called The Dark Knight, which I think most people were disappointed with. And so, no, The Dark Knight, again, S tier. I can't really say much that hasn't already been said. The Dark Knight is an amazing film. Heath Ledger is amazing. I also think Christian Bale as Batman has a really nice character arc that's sometimes overlooked because of Joker, but Dark Knight is definitely one of his best films. One of my favourite films, my 4 favourite films on Letterboxd currently are The Dark Knight, the first 2 Godfathers, and Garden State, but I won't go into why now. But The Dark Knight is such a good film. I could watch it any day of the week. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend it. I was weird. I watched The Dark Knight before I saw Batman Begins or Dark Knight Rises because everyone said it was amazing, and I think we had it on DVD, so I was like, oh, I'll try it, and I was blown away. After that night, it was kind of my favourite film for a long, long time, so I definitely recommend The Dark Knight. Okay, so after Dark Knight, he went on to make Inception, and Inception for me goes on the A tier. This surprises me. I think a few months ago I was kind of in an Inception phase, listening to Time all the time, watching the film a lot, and it would have been in the S tier, but after some retrospect I would probably say Inception is an A. Still definitely one of his best films. I don't think it's quite as well structured as The Prestige. I don't think it quite has as good characters as The Prestige, The Dark Knight, Batman Begins, but Cobb is still an amazing character. And it's definitely an A-tier film. The film, I've watched it a few times and I always love it. The music is great, the tension is brilliant. The idea is just, it's so interesting, the fact that they're all sharing dreams, and the fact you can put the idea of this, sharing dreams into a heist film, and yet they're not even really stealing something, they're planting an idea, so it completely changes all the concepts of a heist film you would normally have, while still keeping the basics the same. And I do think it's one of his best films, and it's really, really good. That's why it's A. It's not quite S, but I have a feeling that in a few months' time, when I've seen these films a couple more times each, this list will probably look very different. But for now, in my current state of mind, recording this video, Inception is at an A. Okay, so after Inception, he did Dark Knight Rises, and Dark Knight Rises is a B. It's very, very good, but it's not as good as the first two. It's kind of, visually, it actually beats the first one, and in some points, the second one. I think it has a better villain than Batman Begins, with Bane, played by Tom Hardy, great performance. But the overall story itself, I don't think is quite as strong, and there's a couple of bits I'm not a massive fan of at the end. I won't go into detail on what those are because I'm trying to not really say anything spoilery in the video. But it's a very, very good film. The Dark Knight trilogy is still probably my favourite trilogy of all time, out of the ones I've seen, and I have seen Lord of the Rings, by the way. And it's still an amazing, well, not amazing, it's still a very, very good film, but it's kind of a B for me, kind of in the middle of his films. It's very, very good, but it's not one of his best. And there is some flaws in it, unfortunately. But visually, it's amazing. I can say that, definitely. So after Dark Knight Rises, he went on to do Interstellar, which is a funny one for me because I've seen it a few times, but the first two times I watched it, I didn't actually see the ending for some reason. I think one of the times was because I was watching it in school in science, but the third time I watched it, I probably sat down and watched it, I think, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's definitely one of his most emotional films, one of his most science concept-y films. It's not a word, but it's definitely a very, very good film, as all of Nolan films are. But I would probably put it as C, actually, kind of thinking about it. It's not a bad film by any means. Like, it's very, very clever, and it's one that I really want to rewatch because I haven't seen it in probably a couple of years now, whereas the others I've seen a lot more recently, and so it wouldn't surprise me if I watched it and then was instantly like, whoa, ST or something like that. But for now, in my current state of mind, it's a C. Very good film, brilliant performances. The score by Hans Zimmer is, as always, amazing, but it's probably a C for me. I think, looking at this list, this is kind of the order in which I'd rather watch the films currently, and Interstellar is probably at the bottom. It could be because of the subject matter, but I don't know. It's one I'm going to rewatch soon, though, I think, because I want to see if my opinion's changed. But as I say, it's not a bad film. It's one that doesn't quite interest me as much as some of the other ones do. But again, that's probably a pretty biased opinion. So after Interstellar, he went and did Dunkirk. I've only seen this once, actually, and visually it's stunning. Story-wise, lacking. So I'd probably put this in C as well. I think, as I say, visually stunning. It really immerses you in that environment of the war. You really feel like you're there, and you feel the danger that these soldiers all feel. But I think some of the characters are lacking. But then I kind of get that I don't think that was his goal. It wasn't to make a proper character drama like it was with The Prestige. They're very different. It's a very different film to his usual ones. Although some of the elements are the same with the non-linear storytelling. But for me, it just didn't quite grip me, or entertain me and engage me as much as some of his other films did, and that's why it's a C tier. But it's still a very good film, as I say. All of these films on this list are very, very good, but I'd say that's C with Interstellar. So the last one, because obviously I can't do Insomnia or following, is Tenet. And I think I did do a review on this the other day. I actually watched it the night after I filmed the review as well for a fourth time. And I still loved it. I still really enjoyed it. And for me, it's an A tier film. It might surprise some people that it beats The Dark Knight Rises for me, but I just think the whole concept itself is so interesting, and the way it's done. And I understand it's quite confusing, but for me, it doesn't really bother me, because I'm the sort of person that is happy to sit down and rewatch a film a few times. Whereas, for the general audience who maybe just want to see it once, they might come out thinking, I don't get it. And so, for a wider audience, it's not as good a film, but for somebody who's happy to rewatch it, to research it, to really think about it, and enjoy the complexity of it, which I am, it's an A film. I really loved it. I'm not going to rewatch it again anytime soon, because I've seen it a couple of times in the last week. But it's definitely a very good film, one of his best, and one of my favourites actually. Again, might surprise some people, but yeah, it's an A tier. So that is my Nolan tier list. I think in my practice it was slightly different. I'm trying to think what was different about it. I think maybe Interstellar and Dunkirk was maybe a bit higher, maybe on C. I can't remember, but on B. I can't remember, but this is kind of my frame of mind right now with Nolan films. It will probably change, but what I might quickly do is just order them in the way that I would like on the tier list. So the one on the left hand side is the best, and the one on the right is the weakest of that tier, and do it for each one. So just bear with me. I'll speed this up in editing, and then you'll see what the overall tier list is. Okay, so that's the overall list. A, I'm kind of 50-50 on, because Inception probably maybe is slightly better structure-wise, but then again, I don't know, I love Tenet, so that's probably why. So Dark Knight, best, then Batman Begins, then Prestige, Tenet, Inception, Dark Knight Rises, Memento, Interstellar, and Dunkirk. Who knows where Following and Insomnia will be? I have a feeling Following will be on the lower tiers, but I think I'm going to quite like Insomnia if I can get my hands on it. But yeah, that is my Christopher Nolan tier list. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe. Comment below if you subscribed. Let me know how you would change this list, whether you agree, disagree. Let me know what you think of the individual films. Make sure to like the video, and look out for my Snyder Cut video towards the end of the week. I should be getting a Snyder Cut one out. I've just got to find the time to watch it. Obviously it's quite long, but I'm really hoping to get a review out on that, because I'm interested to see it. As I say, I watched Man of Steel last week. I'm probably going to rewatch BVS again this week, although I'm not sure. But I do want to watch Snyder Cut, so look out for that.